Hi there. Welcome inside Studio 11B here at the WCBS Hudson Square Broadcast Center. I'm Alex Silverman, and we're here today for a special Facebook Live conversation about the state of LGBT rights, again in the spotlight as we head toward the end of 2016 into 2017. My guest today is Jonathan Lovitz, Senior Vice President at the National Lesbian and Gay Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate you being here, Jonathan.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much.
I want to talk about where we stand headed into 2017, but I want to start with what's in the news today, which is the bill known as House Bill 2 down in North Carolina. Lawmakers meeting now after this deal to possibly repeal it, although we're hearing now as the session's going on that it's potentially in doubt after millions of dollars that this has cost the state of North Carolina, companies and individuals speaking with their wallet. Is that the front on which these battles will be fought going forward?
I think there's multiple fronts at the intersection of basic human rights and dignity and at business. We at the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce serve as the business voice of the LGBT community and have asserted for so long that equality and diversity are good for business. And you just have to look at North Carolina and the nearly $400 million that they've lost in the 9 months that this law has been enacted and see the prevalence of the impact that has on the community. You've got sports teams pulling out, major conferences pulling out. You've got massive corporations saying absolutely we are not investing in this state until this is repealed. And the other level to that is forcing the city of Charlotte, which proactively protected LGBT individuals with their non-discrimination order, forcing them to repeal that as part of this deal is not the way to do business. Basic American civil rights should never be a bargaining chip.
We're at a point now, and what has happened in North Carolina sort of exposes it, where big corporations have decided that it's in their interests to be in support of gay rights. Was 2016 sort of a watershed year in that regard?
I think 2016 was a major visibility moment. We've got corporations across the Fortune 500 who are dedicated to not just LGBT inclusion, but diversity and inclusion as a core business principle going back decades now. At the NGLCC, we've had a supplier diversity initiative to bring LGBT businesses into the corporate supply chain, which has helped bring millions of dollars to our community and encourage job creation and growth throughout industries around the country as a means to help lift LGBT people into the economic spotlight. And that's also helped lift the visibility of corporations who are saying we are making sure that every American has access to the American dream, no matter who they are, where they're from, or who they love. And I think particularly the confluence of both brand visibility in the marketing space, but also in this business inclusion and overall community engagement space, we're seeing corporations step up in a way that they never really have and assert the hard work and goodwill that they've developed by authentically engaging the LGBT community like never before.
So as far as where we are right now, same-sex marriage has been legal across the country now for 18 months, but the laws otherwise are pretty uneven from state to state.
Yeah, it's and I think that's something that's not nearly discussed enough, that we can be married in 50 states and still be fired for putting our partner's photo on our desk in 29 of them, 32 if you're transgender. So it's a real patchwork of opportunities to be your best self wherever you live. But I think what we're going to see is a surge in state and local action in the next year to 4 years or so, with community activist groups working with municipal governments saying, look, the basic necessity for our communities to be able to live out loud so that we can be as active and vital a part of the economy and the well-being of our system as possible. And it's scary to see these discrepancies in rights across the country, that you could literally move to a state next door and lose everything that you've built.
I was going to ask, has what has happened with the election in particular re-energized the advocacy community?
I think so. We're seeing a tremendous support and a linking of arms and a real camaraderie among not just LGBT groups, but across all diverse communities. I think you're going to see some leadership in places you may not expect in the coming years, from people saying, reinforcing that when we all do better, we all do better. Because particularly in the LGBT community, there's been a lot of moves to pit us against one another and discouraging collaboration and the forging of opportunities between us and other communities. So I think you're going to see that in particularly in one place that the NGLCC helped found a group called the National Business Inclusion Consortium, which is all of the diverse communities getting together and saying, no more us against them. No more the pie isn't big enough. The pie is as big as we collectively want to bake it. And more importantly, rights for some should be rights for all. Otherwise, the system doesn't work.
As far as the prospects for what might come in this new administration, I mean, obviously a lot is unclear right now. When you, as an advocate, hear, for example, Donald Trump say on 60 Minutes that same-sex marriage is a settled question in his mind, how much comfort does that kind of thing give you?
We certainly hope that the message that President-elect Trump about his intentions to maintain this inclusive, bridged community across all, for all Americans, rings true throughout his entire cabinet and throughout all executive appointments. That we're certainly seeing some people being put forth for nominations who have a record that's not just anti-LGBT, but anti-diversity in general. And when you look at America growing in this majority-minority trend, that won't work. That's an unsustainable model. So we're eager to work with the administration and work with partners who want to reinforce how important diversity is to America. And we'll find whatever avenue it takes to make that case.
And when we look back at 2016, one thing that has to be brought up is what happened in Orlando. How did that change things?
On the most macro level, it ignited a conversation in America, not just about gun control, but just about respect for each other, because it could have been anyone at any time, anywhere. And I think the importance about discussing intersectionality was reinvigorated at that time, because not only was it an attack on an LGBT safe space, it was also a Latino night and a predominantly transgender night. So multiple communities were threatened and attacked, and our privacy and safety was violated in a way that made people discuss the need to protect all communities, reignite the conversation about safe spaces, talk about gun control, talk about basic human rights ordinances in cities and states, and then most importantly, looking out for one another.
If I had to ask you to gauge your level of optimism, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10 going forward, considering all that's happened this year and all we know about what potentially could happen going forward, where do you think you fall?
I think we all can be pragmatically optimistic and keep ourselves somewhere around an 8 at all times. There is so much to be proud of in the gains we've made. Just in 2016, celebrating 1 year of marriage equality, seeing the great work of the Obama administration in ensuring workplace protections throughout the federal government, something that we hope to see extended through all 50 states. There are, more than anything, there are calls to action now to continue that legacy. We don't fall backwards in this country, and at least we shouldn't. So I think the optimism lies in the fire that's been ignited in a lot of people to keep fighting, to stay active. We have seen this huge uptick in LGBT and other diverse communities stepping up to explore being elected to public office, to opening businesses, to being visible, because that's step one in holding people accountable.
Jonathan Lovitz, Senior Vice President of the National Lesbian and Gay Chamber of Commerce. We really appreciate your perspective and you being here inside Studio 11B and on Facebook Live with us today.
It's a real pleasure. See you again soon.